Hello there, Penguins Penguin Army. My name is Shoaib and welcome back to the F1 Roundup, where today we're discussing the Spanish Grand Prix. And wow, it was different to normal Spanish Grand Prix, and this is a big thing. They had a new configuration. So as you can see here on the screen, that's the old configuration. You see that chicane? They fucked that off. They just went straight round, which I thought personally was the absolute right thing to do, and it did lead to better racing because you weren't getting rid of all your speed here, but you were able to carry much more speed round to the final straight. And we saw a lot more overtakes than we normally do, so thus, better racing. More overtakes, happy days. However, not that there was any overtakes for the lead. Let's start with Max. What a performance from Max Verstappen. Totally in control from lap 1 to lap 66. He was dominant. Was even completing side quests by the end because he just wanted to get the fastest lap off his teammate Checo Perez. More on Checo later. Another disappointing qualifying for him. But yeah, stuck a lovely pole lap in on qualifying 1:12.2. So quick, it's 5 times quicker than second place to Carlos Sainz Jr. He was incredible this weekend. Whatever your thoughts of him are, he is getting the best out of that car. It really suits him, and I think what Martin Brundle said on commentary is absolutely spot on. The only way to beat Max Verstappen is to get Adrian Newey, because he has designed one hell of a beast of a car there. Really good car. And it's 7 races, and to be fair, it's 7 dominant races for Red Bull. The disappointing thing is we haven't seen all that much of Max versus Checo out and out like we saw from Rosberg Hamilton for so many years. And that's why I personally am not enjoying the season as much as previous seasons, because the racing's for second or third place. I mean, the last couple of weeks have been for second because Checo's been out of place on qualifying. However, that doesn't totally excuse Checo Perez's race, because George was out of qualifying in place and qualifying got to P3. But we'll talk about George Russell in a bit and his sweaty forehead. But yeah. Totally in control. Did get a black and white flag for track limits, not one, but yeah, he could have quite easily opened a newspaper, had a drink while driving. Don't drink and drive. Because yeah, he was totally in control. 24 seconds up the road, and that includes a second pit stop. At one point, he was about 47 seconds in lead after Hamilton had boxed. But yeah, really dominant from Red Bull. But behind the Red Bull was the two Mercedes, who looked so much better. This weekend. They were very much comfortably the second best car this weekend, which is a real nice change of pace. And to see Lewis up there, was really good, because obviously I like Lewis, I love George, I'm English, I support the Englishman. We'll talk about the other Englishman in a bit. But yeah, fantastic race from Lewis to finish P2, was comfortably quicker than Carlos Sainz Jr. and Aston Martin and Ferrari. Ferrari only really had one car up there, with Leclerc having a bit of a mare in qualifying, but we'll talk about that in later. But yeah, they were comfortable as rest. Lewis, was comfortable, P4 behind Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz Jr. on the grid, and obviously Max. Yeah, obviously made contact with Lando, not that, but it was a complete racing incident. And if anyone's fault, it was actually Carlos's fault, because he stopped suddenly. Lewis stopped, was able to react, but Lando wasn't. So it's a complete racing incident. And poor old Lando. His afternoon sort of just got worse than lap 1. But yeah, Lewis was fantastic. Totally in control. Was able to much quicker than Carlos Sainz. He was about 2 seconds quicker on his fastest lap. Which is, yeah, fantastic. There were only 3 tenths off Max Verstappen, and only 1,000th of a second off Checo in that regard. George Russell started P12 on the grid after a dismal qualifying himself, but finished P3. Really good race. Took most of his paces on first lap, had a storming first lap. Avoided a collision, was under investigation for coming off track gaining an advantage, but he didn't gain any track positions, he just gained speed. But in doing so, he prevented a big accident. He went round Bollard. Well done, George. Well, good racing. Got to P12 and looked very comfortable in P3. Sorry, very good. Checo, he was chasing down Checo and was going to catch him. Then Checo boxed, and suddenly the hunter became hunted. Checo finished 3 seconds back, and to be honest, didn't look all that good, because I think George was saving his tyres just in case. And he looked in control, and towards the end was actually lapping faster. So yeah, bit of a small race for Checo Perez, who was in end qualifying, qualified 11th as place ahead of George Russell. And yeah, he cut through the field very nicely, but it just took him so long to get up there that by the time he was up in the points, really, he was about a half pit stop behind Max. But yeah, disappointing for Checo. Another poor qualifying. He's had a couple of rough weekends in a row now, so he's sort of got to pick his act up a bit. So yeah, that's Checo for you. Carlos Sainz Jr., fantastic qualifying to stick it on P2. But in the race pace just wasn't there compared to Mercedes. Just was not there. Speaking of pace not being there, Aston Martin, where were they this weekend? 6th and 7th. Considering how good Fernando's been for the first 6 races of the weekend, that's a real shock to see him down in qualifying P8 and then finishing P7. They just didn't look that good quick today. But then, you know, they've been very, very good up until that. And he was a good teammate, let Lance stay ahead. You know, he wasn't going to push me, just wanted to build a gap to Esteban, who damn well nearly killed Fernando Alonso at one point, but hey-ho. But Esteban came 8th, Shogun Guan Yu 9th, Gasly 10th, who was overtaking people for fun, qualified 10th after 2 grid penalties, dropped down the order, had to work his way back up, but yeah, did a good race. Charlie Clerk, who didn't really, who started from a pit lane, finished 11th, but he just didn't come alive on the soft tyres, didn't suit his car, wasn't happy. Yeah, no points for Charles. Disappointing race. Yuki Tsunoda, who had a grid pad time penalty post-race, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he did. For forcing a driver off the track, which was harsh, but yeah, I can see what I was given. But yeah, he was in the points for a long race. Yeah, he's outperforming that car. Oscar Piastri P13. Yeah, just not much to talk about. Oscar, he was just there, really. Nick De Vries, he's showing signs of life, but it's still not good. And he had a proper ding-dong battle with Hülkenberg. But yeah, I'm worried for Nick. I am. I do think he might lose his seat. But hopefully he keeps it. Hülkenberg 15th, Albon 16th, Lando, who was a bit of a one-lap wonder, had a fantastic lap, got it all the right time, fits qualified P3, first corner, twats into back of Lewis Hamilton, snaps swing, needs a new wing. Disappointing for Lando, because I thought he would at least get some very, very solid points. No points on McLaren, of course, this weekend. But yeah, not much he could have done about it, unfortunately. It's just one of those things. Magnussen 18th, Bottas 19th, and Logan Sargent also started from the pit lane in 20th. But yeah, Verstappen was completely out on his own, and I think he will win every race now. He is just so dominant. There's no point watching him though, because he is winning every race. Hamilton is more looking at next year, and they're about to begin contract talks. An absolute catastrophe for Ferrari. But let's go through the standings in the championship. Sorry about that. Sargent De Vries remain on nil par points in 20th and 19th. Albon remains on 1 and 18th. Magnussen with 2 and 17th. Tsunoda also with 2 and 16th. Shogun Yu with 4 and 15th. Bottas is Alpha teammate, also with 4 and 14th. Piastri with 5 and 13th. Hülkenberg with 6 and 12th. Lando with 12 with 11 in the 11th. Couldn't add to it. Gasly in 10th with 15. Ocon in 9th with 25. He's having a good couple of races, Esteban. Lance Stroll down in 8th with 35. Leclerc in 7th with 42. Carlos Sainz in 6th with 58. George Russell in 5th with 65. Lewis Hamilton in 4th with 87. In 3rd is Fernando Alonso with 99. 2nd is Checo Perez with 117. And all the way up front, in 1st place with 170 points, Max Verstappen. Interesting to note, Mercedes are very quietly having a good season, considering how bad they were first weeks of the season. Yeah, looking very comfortable. In the constructors, Mercedes have actually jumped Aston Martin, but we'll get to that. 10th is with 1 point is Williams. 9th with 2 is AlphaTauri. 8th with 8 is Alfa Romeo. 7th with 8 is Haas. In 6th with 17 is McLaren. 5th with 40 is Alpine. Big jump up now to Ferrari with 100 points with Ferrari. Aston Martin dropped to third with 134 points. Mercedes with double podium drivers with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton jump up to second with 152 points, while Red Bull all the way out in front with 7 wins from 7 with 287 points is Red Bull. Thank you so much for watching this week. We'll see you in a couple of weeks with Canadian Grand Prix. Predictions down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. My name's Robin. I'll see you all next time. But till then, toodaloo. See ya.